In retrospect, I guess my vocation option has always been clear: Salesian brother or nothing. And I never really had a vocation to the priesthood, but it took the formation process to clarify that option. What makes me joyful as a Salesian? Well, I think the community life together with generous brothers who try to live their vocation simply and joyfully. And then the simple things, really, contributing my modest quota in whatever field I'm assigned to, and then with whatever talent I've been given to make the community grow. It's a long story, but as a young man, I had many ideas of what I wanted to be, quite unusual ones also. Thought of being an aeronautic engineer, a pilot, or some form of engineering or the other. Until I would say God knocked on my door through my spiritual director then, Father Redentor Molina. And I found myself in a Salesian school by accident after my secondary school. And that was Onitsha, he was the youth director of the oratory. And he involved me in animation of the younger ones, which I hadn't much experience of till then. I was engaged in Savio group, the band, the scouts, and these are different groups that I practically was part of when I was in secondary school. Then before going on vacation once, he asked me to think about something we had discussed, and I was puzzled and asked, what was that? And then he casually replied, oh, the idea of becoming a Salesian. Up until then, I had never actually nursed that idea. But it was definitely the beginning of an exciting journey of a specifically Salesian vocation, I'd say. So I began to pay more attention to the Salesians in the school, whom I admired for their different approach to life, especially the common denominator of having a cheerful and optimistic outlook, despite the tough conditions that they were working at that time, and their fatherly, brotherly relationship with students and the youths of the center. So practically there was Brother Carlo Bacaglia, Father Nicola Ciarapica, Father Vittorio Valsini, the rector, and late Father Mario Pellegrini. I think these are the Salesians there then. And this was something I saw myself doing in the long term, although it wasn't clear to me how it was going to be. So later at the novitiate, I found an even bigger community with almost, I think there were equal brothers and priests. Father Ricardo Castellino, our novice master, Brother Jose Trigona, Father Italo Spagnolo, Father Gabriel Wade, Father Silvio Roggia, Vincenzo Diana, Brother Ricky Racca, and Brother Sarah Marulapa, Father Lionel Xavier, Brother Giovanni Patrucco, the great communicator. So they were all multifaceted and resourceful Salesians. They put all their energy and generosity without any reserve at the service of the young people and the people around them. And at that time, I really didn't appreciate this fact, but reflecting on it later, I understood that it was a prophetic and deeply charismatic community, that you could visibly see Don Bosco spirituality at work, no? So the attraction was to be a Salesian, as all the examples I had before me, and I'm not even sure what I wrote during my first profession. It was later on during practical training that I really began to reflect on what sort of Salesian I wanted, or I was called to be, rather. And I realized I was never really attracted to it. Well, apart from completing the figure of the Salesian in the community, according to Don Bosco's mind, I think the brother gives a very clear witness to religious values as a lay person. And then also the presence of God active in our daily lives, in our daily reality. Void of religious garbs, no specific uniform, no religious habit. So this is also the way Jesus chose to live, I believe, not as a prestigious cleric, but as a nobody who affected people's lives right at the grassroots. So today we see ambiguities in understanding religious life from the religious themselves. Sometimes we do not do justice to a proper understanding of the charisma of our founder. And so the generic approach to pastoral work that we cannot be distinguished from diocesan priests, or we have people who are very enthusiastic about pastoral work but prefer to work alone rather than within the scope of the religious community, which I would call apostolic individualism. And that is when we see a twisted kind of choice that can lead to the absence of fraternal life, and the individual management of commitments, financial autonomy, and such things. Now, priesthood then becomes, so we see in this kind of situation, priesthood becomes the main target of religious identity instead of it finding its expression within religious consecration. And that is imbued with the founder's charism. So for the Salesian brother, he starts to feel inferior and compensates either in a sacramental direction, that is assuming clerical roles and attitudes, or in the secular direction, that is making professionalism the absolute value, or even seeking a secular lifestyle. Well, I think good formation is the foundation of any vocation. The problem of visibility is an inherent lack of understanding of religious life, and then also the socio-cultural conditions present in many African countries. I believe with the formation that is tailored to our reality, we will have more Salesians who are grounded in their vocation, and then make better reflections about how to promote it today and also in the future. So from my own experience, having an experience of different Salesian contexts, different countries, different ways of formation, has helped me in making this reflection easier. Well, a lot of things, actually. Little things. I would say a healthy community life, for one. Being able to find myself useful to my brothers, and not only that, their own good example also encourages me as well. A quiet time to start the day, that's one I rarely miss. And then I used to play games a lot, especially basketball, when I was younger. But these days, it's really hard to find the time. So a lot of responsibilities, especially office responsibilities. But it's something I miss a lot. Actually, I think being present is very important. We don't know what we do not see or have experienced. And being visible and living one's life out in front of them is a more convincing witness than a class or direction one might give. It's challenging because We Salesian brothers are very few in the province. Uh, at least in my province, we are only two finally professed, and three are still in various stages of initial formation. So, but I think visibility is very important. I would say the same way the Salesian brother can contribute to the vocation promotion. There is no differentiation. And that is by understanding the true foundation of religious life as based on the person of Christ, and then trying to live close to the tenets that he lived by. I tell the pre-novices one thing I believe ardently. Community life is a sacrament for us. If we can't live genuine community life, then we might as well pack our bags and go home. It is that conviction that we live it, that we are able to convince people in our environment that this is the ideal to which they should also strive. So the way we treat one another with mutual respect, with understanding, as brothers that, like the disciples lived with Jesus, for me, it's very important to the harmony in which we live. Models in the Salesian life. Well, for me, I think all Salesians that I've ever experienced during my formative years, they form part of who I am today. Some much more than others, but of course, each one with his own particular illumination of Don Bosco's apostolic heart. And of course, the saints too. I was impressed by Don Xavier as a young Salesian, Don Rua as the first successor of Don Bosco, and of course, Saint Artimides Zati in a particular way, who is a patron of my province also. And then also the loving kindness of St. Francis de Sales, and then the complete poverty and the giving up to divine providence of St. Francis of Assisi. So I would say these are my models. My advice to young candidates who want to continue discerning their vocation as Salesians is to keep at the center always what is essential. Attraction to you to work is one thing. It is essential as a Salesian and challenging at the same time. But a call to religious life is basically one of attraction to God, Jesus, and how we acted and lived. We are called to do the same thing. It is a lifelong call to acquire his heart, to always be ready to give up one's will to search for God's will, as he did, and to be able to be available to be sent. And this should be the ultimate desire of any religious. So this is when we can say we truly shine. I would say a clearer formation path for brothers, which I see happening already now compared to our own time of formation. This should also take into consideration a common formation community for both priest and brother candidates. So from my experience in Utume in the early 2000s, it was a practical approach because we were in one another's faces, so to speak. And this is what real community life will later be about. This situation, I believe, helped both vocations to interact, to dialogue, and then ultimately to understand what they were about. So I'm not a great supporter of differentiated formation houses. And then I think visibility is crucial to understanding and promotion of vocation. A more inclusive community life at all levels, especially in formation communities. I always tell the candidates in initial formation, you cannot understand what you do not see, and you do not appreciate what you do not understand. It's that simple, and it's been my experience all these years.